On this episode of TurnStyle, it's time to visit the happiest place on earth. Hello everybody, and I'm super excited because today we are headed out to Disneyland to experience the happiest place on earth, as I said. And we don't get out here too often, out to California. We're frequent to Florida. We live in Florida, so we hit those parks up. But this will be fun. But before we went there, we decided to stop over at Griffith Park to check out the carousel here. If you know Disney lore, you know that when Walt was watching his daughters ride the carousel, it was when he originally thought to himself, wouldn't it be cool if there was a amusement park where parents could enjoy attractions with their children? And that's where he came up with the concept for Disneyland originally.
As I'd sit there while they rode the merry-go-round, did all these things, sit on a bench, eating peanuts, I felt that there should be something built, some kind of an amusement enterprise built where that the parents and the children could have fun together.
And it's just cool to be here in California, stepping in Walt's footsteps, the man, the myth, the legend, and kind of appreciate all the different things that led to him coming out with these ideas, the inspiration, if you will. So now I guess we better hop in the car and head over to Disneyland. All right, Disney World people in Disneyland, part one. Let me say how much more I enjoy the weather here than in Florida. It is so mild this morning in Disneyland. The weather is beautiful. We are not sweating our butts off. It's gonna be an enjoyable day. A little bit different for us this time. We've never entered through downtown Disney, so this is a little bit different for us. So one thing you gotta keep in mind if you're a Disney World person coming to Disneyland is that downtown Disney, California Adventure, and Disneyland are all in such close proximity, it will blow your mind, and we'll see that in just a minute. Of course, you can still hit Earl's Sandwich here, so that's cool. So some things do stay the same. There goes the monorail. Looks like they got a really cool skin on the monorail right now. Now passing the Lego store. That one looks familiar. That one looks familiar too. Notice some really awesome sculptures, something we haven't seen in Disney World. They have these, this is deconstructive Goofy, and then over here, we have a deconstructed Daisy, and if you get in the right spot, it'll actually look like Daisy. And I see one more over here, deconstructed Donald. This is neat. We need to see these in World. So, deconstructed Donald, let's check this out. So right there you kind of get a Donald feel, and then when you walk around it, he completely deconstructs. Really cool, really artsy. Something neat to see. So, a couple more. Deconstructive Minnie, right behind me there, you see her. And then I think, yep, there he is, the Main Mouse himself. Mickey Mouse, somewhere in there. Deconstructed, reconstructed. Very, very cool. This is neat. I would love to see something like this at Disney World. But it's cool to see something new. That's the thing. It's cool to see something new. The other thing is, people may not realize that you see all these non-Disney brands here at Disneyland. Well, Downtown Disney and Disneyland did this first before we got it at Disney Springs, all these non-Disney brands. So after they send you through a decent stretch of a walk through Downtown Disney, looking at all the wonderful merchandise, you finally get to the parks. And that's what we're going to check out. So I'd say that none of us are experts in Disneyland. We definitely know Disney World more than Disneyland. But I'm going to try to give as many tips for people who are here from Orlando while we're walking through the park. And one of the things I will say is, when you're walking into Disneyland for the first time, get ready for your brain to readjust, because it looks kind of like Magic Kingdom, but it's not. and your brain's going to want to constantly direct you in certain places that may not be where you want to go. We are officially in the real deal Disneyland. Minnie hanging out over there. The characters, just like you'd expect, the characters are running around. But again, get ready for your brain to kind of readjust because everything is scaled down a bit from what you are used to at the Magic Kingdom. What'd you guys find? The Main Street Cinema. Alright, headed over to the Penny Arcade, which is one of those exhibits that's near and dear to our hearts. Oh gosh. So it's a little early for sugar.
No. Look at Main Street Electrical Parade.
So what are these?
Look like cake pops, marshmallows, Rice Krispies.
Celebrating our all-time favorite parade. That's really cool. Again, my brain is constantly reprocessing because I feel like I know where I'm going, but this isn't Disney World, this is Disneyland, and I don't want to go in the wrong direction. Alright, starting our adventure this time around in Adventureland. And one of the weird things you're going to see about Adventureland, Enchanted Tiki Room, just before you even hit the Adventureland gate. But I love that the first thing you encounter is the Tiki Room here, and that's the original real deal Tiki bird attraction, the Enchanted Tiki Room. And then immediately, again, things you'd expect to see as you go into the Magic Kingdom, as you go into Adventureland there. Jungle Cruise, literally right around the corner. And the one thing they definitely have above us, one thing they have that's better than us, right next to the Jungle Cruise, is the Indiana Jones Adventure. Alright, so here is one more fact for you guys that is going to blow your mind. They still use paper fast passes. Yes, that's right. There is no put the tickets on your card here. Instead, you have to put it in a machine and get the passes. But despite having to use the paper fast pass system, we were able to get 3 fast passes for the Indiana Jones Adventure, something they definitely don't have in Florida. So second stop, Marcy got 2 Disneyland musts, starting with the beignet. First time Brian's ever had a beignet, so we're very excited for him. How does it compare to other beignets you may have had in the past?
I don't know if I've had any other beignets.
You've only ever had a Disneyland beignet?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. And then you got to, the only way to wash it down is with one of their mint juleps. Non-alcoholic, we must point out. Of course, there's no Liberty Square in Disneyland, but they do have something that's arguably cooler. Maybe not even arguably, it's just really, really cool. Is New Orleans Square, which we're walking through now on our way to our second attraction. We're headed to the mansion itself, the quintessential Disney attraction. Looks a little bit different than the one at Disney World, as you can see. I actually think that the look of this Haunted Mansion is actually cooler. And because it's in New Orleans Squares, it's meant to resemble some of the architecture that you see here. So once again, yeah, as you see, since this is New Orleans Square, the building's a little bit different, meant to resemble the stuff you'd see in New Orleans. Very, very cool, and arguably, not even arguably, it is better than the exterior of the mansion in Disney World. And then just off to the side, There's the pet cemetery. You also won't see Mr. Toad in the pet cemetery here because the toad is alive and well in Disneyland, in Fantasyland. So, just another thing that's kind of interesting and different from the Magic Kingdom in Orlando. All right, here we go.
Deathly still. That is the time when ghosts are present, practicing their terror with ghoulish delight.
So actually, like I mentioned before, the Haunted Mansion in Disneyland has a lot of differences than the one that you've experienced in the Magic Kingdom in Orlando. And it's kind of refreshing if you've never ridden the Disneyland one before. There's a couple things that might surprise you, which is kind of cool. One of the things that goes unnoticed, and something that's commonly known but a lot of people forget about, if you don't know your Disney 101, the actual stretching gallery here in Disneyland looks pretty much the same as the stretching gallery in the Magic Kingdom, except it's an elevator. It actually goes underground, whereas in the Magic Kingdom, everything stretches above you. So that helps it to stand apart from its Disney World counterparts. The reason for that is actually pretty obvious. Disney World has a lot more space, so they didn't have to go underground with theirs. Disneyland does not have as much space. One thing you'll see as we're around here, Disneyland is much more congested, and so that was a necessity that they'd go underground with the actual attraction. Another fun little thing here in Disneyland, you have Haunted Mansion and its neighbor, its actual neighbor, which is Splash Mountain, right next to Haunted Mansion. Other than that, Disney World people will notice that Disneyland does not have the MC Escher staircases that we have in Orlando. But what they do is they do make up for it with the addition of the Hatbox Ghost, which is super, super cool to see the Hatbox Ghost actually working in a Disney park. Definitely something you want to keep an eye out for immediately after you pass the bride. But again, on the flip side, talking about technologies that we have in Florida that they do not have in Disneyland, they don't have the interactive hitchhiking ghost. They have the old school Pepper Ghost hitchhiking ghost, which is still a lot of fun and fun to see.
Welcome, my friends, to the Temple of the Forbidden Eye. I, Sala, shall now give you counsel to safeguard the miraculous journey. Here in your transportation devices are ingenious pouches for safekeeping all earthly treasures when the journey becomes bumpy. And to keep you safe and sound, here are special belts attached into the seats. Simply pull it from the right, inserting it into the left, like so. You see the excellence of this invention? Your off-road journey is high speed and turbulent, going over rough and rugged terrain, and then suddenly you are turning sharply and dropping suddenly. It is unlike anything you have ever experienced, I assure you. Now, my friends, one final word of advice. Once you have entered the chamber of destiny, look not into the eyes of the idol. That would be dangerous. Very dangerous. Well, my friends, your moment is drawing near. Already I am envious of the wonders of the future. If you avoid the eyes of God,